session of the Lincoln County Commission on July the 19th, 2012, at 10 a.m. is now called to order. Members present is Merle Hugh Clark, Charles McCann via telephone, and Charles Vance. First thing on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on June the 21st, 2012, at 10 a.m.
So moved.
Second. All yes vote. Motion carries.
Next thing on the agenda is discussion of concern. I need a motion to rescind the motion to appoint Sam Ruby to the Lincoln Public Service District.
So moved.
Again, all yes vote. Motion carries.
Next thing on the agenda is Claude Hunt. He's here to talk to us about our disaster relief program.
Claude Hunt with Region 2 Workforce Investment Board. We've received for the counties of Lincoln, Logan, Mingo, and Wayne a little over $141,000. This goes back, this is not what happened a couple weeks ago, this is back in March, to do some removal of trash and debris from streams, etc. that have occurred. And our proposal the proposal that we've discussed in Lincoln County deals with 8 folks who will need to be laid off or on unemployment to qualify to work. The pay rate of pay is $12 an hour. Lincoln County would provide the supervisor and would reimburse up to $15 an hour, which would include the FICA, and the work has to be done in the area that was declared in the disaster area, which is the middle fork of Mud River from Yawkey to Hamlin, cleaning debris from the stream. I'll entertain any questions. That pretty well summarizes, I think, and we've sent the contracts to you all.
Okay, hearing no comments, do we need to adopt this agreement?
Yes, and that way we can start hiring process.
Well, I make the motion we adopt it.
I'll second that. Being all yes vote. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you know of anyone who's without a job that would like to go to work for $12 an hour, tell them to get a hold of us.
We sure appreciate it.
304.
Next thing on the agenda is Steve Stewart with Appalachian Power Company. He's going to talk to us about our other disaster that happened on June the 29th.
Well, thank you. First of all, I want to tell you, just say thanks to the commission and the 911 director and the citizens of Lincoln County for being patient and working with us during the worst storm in the history of our company. Give you some facts about the storm. Hopefully you guys are getting my emails that I'm sending out periodically during the storm that gives you a little update on how we're doing and what we're doing in certain areas. But the peak of the storm, Appalachian Power has about 1 million customers. We had 573,000 outages at one time. This storm, and after that storm on June 29th, we had 4 additional storms that came blowing through after that. On Sunday, July 1st, we had one that caused 30,000 outages. On Tuesday, July 3rd, we had 6,000. On Thursday, the 5th, 40,000, and then on Sunday, the 8th, another 30,000. So that was an unprecedented storm that we've never seen the likes of. We had more than 1,500 poles that were broken that we had to replace. Hundreds of miles of wire that was on the ground, not counting cross arms and that kind of thing. We had 100 substations that were out of service and 100 transmission lines that were damaged or torn down. And we've never seen anything like it. We did, you know, a lot of people were asking, you know, why did it take, you know, so long to get it back up? And my question is, you know, I don't know how we did it so fast, to be honest with you. We had more than 5,100 line crews or linemen from other states representing 22 different states that we had contractors in here from to try to get the line back up as quick as possible. And while, you know, no outage is good, one good thing I can report is that we didn't have one major injury during the restoration process. And I think that speaks very good of our safety projects. But with that, I'll answer any questions you may have, or I gave you a copy of this presentation. You can thumb through it at your convenience, and then if you do have questions, you have my contact information. I'll be glad to come back and visit anytime, or you can call me if you so desire to.
Let me ask you something, and I do appreciate the work that everyone did, including our local people here. You know, and I know this hit probably the worst heat wave we've seen in several years too. But when you look at this situation, I'm sure you look at it and say, what could we have done better?
We
Or how
absolutely
could we
do.
best address this? Because the reason being is I think some of these storm systems, these type storm systems will become more frequent.
Mhm.
And the other question I might have to ask you is there any thought or thinking about putting these lines underground?
Well, there is a thought of that, and to be quite honest with you, we have about 25% of our customers right now that are behind on their bills, can't pay what the bills are now, and the cost to put lines from overhead to underground is unbelievable. It's phenomenal. It would be 4 or 5 times what your costs are now to do that. And simply
I was
just
wondering,
a
'cause,
$1.
I know the costs as you incurred this time is probably somewhere going to be reflected on those people also.
Right.
So if you want to continually incur those super huge costs, I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying if that would happen to start occurring,
Mhm.
somewhere you got to make the decision, well, we're going to have to stop this kind of loss every time and things
Right.
of that nature. I will say I didn't get to talk to a lot of the people in Lincoln County other than the ones that come into my office, but the people on 9 Mile Creek went 11 days without electric
Right.
in that heat, and they were really troopers about it.
Yeah,
I,
they were.
I didn't have too many rocks thrown at my vehicle when I went by, and I waited over a week to contact the people myself to make sure that we hadn't been forgotten, because the guys were telling me they hadn't seen any trucks whatsoever, and I know we had the community had cut out a lot of trees and things like that up through there and everything, but I talked to people that come into the office. The only problem that they had brought to me, they said, and these are people that did talk to your work crews and things, is that they felt they weren't getting their work orders right or quick enough or things like that. There was a lot of downtime where they'd be set and wait. And this is just what the community brought to me. I don't know, but some of the contract workers you had didn't know where to go to, and this was told to me by multiple people. That's the reason I say, looking at this, I think that's something you might want to look at as far as how they get their commands or where they're told to go and things
Well,
like that.
you brought up some good comments there. First of all, everybody should contact the power company when your power goes out. I mean, every single person that's out, don't rely on your neighbors to contact, because they may be 2 or 3 different problems between your neighbor and you that needs to be fixed. So everybody should call, because we've had situations where people call and say, well, all my neighbors are back on, but I'm not on. Did you report your outage? Well, no, but don't you all know I'm out? Well, we don't necessarily know you're out. I mean, we have a pretty good idea in most cases, but we do need them to report that. And another thing, you'll have people that call in and say, all my neighbors are on, or I saw a truck come through here, but they didn't come down my road, and that kind of thing. When we start the restoration process, we have to start with the transmission lines, because that comes out of the power plant, comes to the substations. Get those up, then we have to get the substations on, because all the power comes out of there. Then we have to get our 3-phase backbone system that comes out of the substations that takes it to the different communities, get that up and running. And when you do that, that brings on a lot of customers at once. You start getting those things on, and then you just have to start working out those single-phase taps. And that's really where the slowdown becomes, because there's so many more of those. And but we have to prioritize it that way, because if you start on those and work your way back, you don't know what you've got accomplished. But we do have a post-storm policy where we go back and look at everything and see where we can improve. And certainly we know there are areas that we can improve on, and we're going to look at those and try to do those as best we can. One of the things that did slow down some of the process this time, this storm was 600 miles long, and in a matter of 10 hours it crossed 600 miles, and it caused that kind of damage for 600 miles. So when we looked at getting crews in here, construction crews in here to help us back, everybody was trying to get those same crews. we had to get crews from as far away as South Dakota. 22 different states were represented in the restoration process, so that really did slow things down. And we'd never really seen an outage this big where you had 60% of your customers out of power either. So I don't know. We'll do our best to be prepared for that next time, but I don't know how we can, with the manpower that you have. One of the things that I think we did a better job this time on is communication with the 911 agencies and that kind of thing, to let people know it's going to be a while. You need to get people evacuated, get them to cooling stations and that kind of thing, and I think they did a great job of
And
that.
one of the other complaints that the people had to me was that they would be told to be back on day after tomorrow, and day after tomorrow they'd call again, it's gonna be back on 3 days later. And
Right.
the lady I talked with at AEP, she was really nice most of the time. And I told her that, I said, well, it's probably better just tell them it's gonna be at least a week.
Yeah.
So they won't build their hopes up, because that really dashes people's hopes, especially when they're under the stress of 100 plus degree temperature and things like that. I mean, and maybe our 911 people can help us with that a little bit too, as far as better identifying when they are, but I don't know, I told them, I think there's a policy you guys have to tell them it's 3 days later or something, or it's 36 hours later or something like that.
Well, it's a computer-generated calculation. They take the number of customers, the number of circuits, the number of transmission lines, the number of substations, and it kind of calculates man-hours that it's going to take to get that much work done. But what it doesn't take into consideration, how long it's going to take you to get those manpower on the job, because sometimes it takes longer. And
There was somewhere around 4 days before you guys got anybody in and out of state. So, I mean,
Well,
about that
some of
time,
the folks, yeah, and some of the people didn't get here for 6 days,
Like, because they were working on those.
or they had to come from South Dakota
Okay.
or South Florida. But certainly, we're going to look at everything we did, right and wrong, and anything we can improve on, we're certainly going to work on.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Holder and our emergency systems office will do the same, so we'll be a little bit better at it.
And we'll be meeting with those folks too.
Steve, that's another thing we have on the agenda here, the next couple of things, with the 911. We want to try to set up meetings to discuss what the pros and the cons of it. Could we contact you and you come and attend and maybe help us out some?
Absolutely, either myself or we can get someone else that's more involved in the storm restoration itself to come and definitely sit down and talk to you about it.
All right.
I'd be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Mr. McKean, do you want to talk about the next thing on the agenda of Alan Holder and the staff of the 911?
Well, I just think that Commissioner Vance, I'm sure listened to his discussion right on target, that maybe we should send some type of accommodation to them, because they did put in lots of hours and did a good job under the circumstance. So I just thought maybe we pass some kind of resolution in their support and send them a official resolution supporting their efforts.
I'll make a motion to do that.
I'll second. All yes. Motion carries. And just go ahead to the next item. We've already talked about that on the emergency thing.
And if anyone's in the audience there that would like to come to meetings, we're going to try to set up meetings to discuss the pros and cons of the disaster that we had on June the 29th. Just put your name and number there on the sign-in sheet, and we'll contact you as well. Next thing on the agenda is the old business. We have Ryan Jefferson with the Green Wastewater Phase 4.
Morning, Commission.
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple handouts here.
Go ahead, Ryan, if you don't care.
Yeah. Saving one.
You need one?
Yeah, just
Okay. You need one, you or two? You got one.
knock on this. Awesome. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a quick update on where we're at with Phase 4, and then also just kind of talking about Rick and I also kind of created a report for Phase 3. based on some of the history of the projects thus far in different phases. We gave a little bit of background and history and then submitted to the DEP and the DHHR. At the end of each phase, we always have to submit a type of report like this and kind of talk about some of the project outcomes as well as some of the challenges. Some basic things that we've dealt with, project challenges thus far, living habits, dealing with people being used to putting grease and other things in septic systems and trying to teach people how to change those habits, as well as, I'm sure you guys are well aware with the problems that we've had with distributors in the past and working on ways that we can make distributors more accountable for the services and products that they provide for us. Some of the outcomes, definitely the stuff that people like to hear is, that we're getting better E. coli readings in all of the community areas. So, we're reducing the E. coli levels in the streams and the Mud River Dam, of course, and as well as improved living quality for people inside the community. You're not going to have these pools of septic in the middle of their yards. Kids can play in the yards again. Actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in phase 4. We've been installing new systems, about 5 of them we've got in the ground now, and one family in general, I won't say any names, but really needed it, and it's great to go back now and see that my work is actually providing these children a place to play without their shoes on. When I was a kid, I used to run around without my shoes, and I didn't have to deal with running and stuff like that. So I think that's really important.